The themes explored in Dracula have remained relevant in contemporary media while remaining deeply ingrained in our modern societies. These themes were once forbidden during the Victorian era in which the novel Dracula was created. Dracula Untold shows a completely different side of the Dracula universe, which I will dive into later. The themes of Dracula Untold take a different approach to relevance to society, with it being released in 2014. These themes can be interpreted completely different to the original themes' contextual values that Dracula holds. Dracula was written in 1897 by Bram Stoker during the Victorian era. It was set in the late 19th century. The Victorian era was a time characterized by social and cultural changes. Bram Stoker drew inspiration from many previous Gothic literatures, such as the 1819 short story The Vampire. Bram Stoker elaborately produced a tale that both reflected and challenged the societal norms of the time. An example of this is the two centralized settings, these being Count Dracula's castle in Transylvania, which symbolized the ancient and isolated life of a vampire, being immortal, and modern Victorian England, being a bustling city juxtaposed as an urbanized city, as well as heavily repressed societal norms. There is a stark contrast between the two, enabling the assumption of Dracula being very old and backward. The characters in Dracula represent various areas of society during the Victorian era, ranging from the courageous yet vulnerable Mina Harker to the mysterious and seductive Count Dracula. Each character embodies different ideologies and challenges the prevailing gender roles and expectations of the Victorian era. Take Mina for example. She is the perfect example of a Victorian woman who will do anything to help her husband. On the contrary, her friend, Lucy, she is the perfect example of what a Victorian woman was not, being a sexually liberated woman. In the novel, 3 men all wanted to marry her. She also exchanged fluids with a total of 4 men. This was due to her being attacked and controlled by Dracula. She needed all 3 of her lovers and the doctor's blood to keep her alive. This ultimately failed as she was not a true Victorian woman, and they were forced to kill her. With this, the image of the Victorian mother had been tarnished and showed a different and forbidden way in which a woman of the Victorian era could present herself. Dracula Untold was a film that was released in 2014 and was a prequel to Bram Stoker's infamous novel Dracula. Dracula Untold is set in the 15th century and is based on the Transylvanian prince Vlad Dracula, who became known as Vlad the Impaler after the 15th century. It is said that he tortured tens of thousands of people while defending Romania from the Ottomans. His reputation spread throughout Central Europe as someone who enjoyed tormenting those who opposed his motherland, through ways such as cannibalism and impaling victims with a heavy stake. After all my research, his brutality stays constant. Even the Romanians who praised of his bravery acknowledged that he carried out a savage retaliation by annihilating entire communities. The Gothic genre experienced its revival in the 2010s with a variety of mediums adopting its ambient and ominous theme. Gothic themes have been addressed in literature. These books often featured paranormal activity, complex secrets, and complicated individuals against superpowers. The 2010s also saw a rise of Gothic-inspired fashion, with designers blending dark color schemes, lace, velvet, and Victorian-style clothes into their collections. Gothic subcultures like goth and emo thrived in influencing aesthetics and fashion during this time. Until this day, these subcultures have continued to thrive as a fashion statement to be an individual in a group society. All of this created a foundation for Dracula Untold to stand on and to become a popular movie at the time. Upon researching the themes of Dracula, I found out there are many themes incorporated into it. The 3 that stand out to me the most in the novel: writing, journal, message, illness, madness, and confinement, and romantic love, seduction, and sexual purity. Upon reading Dracula, it is evident that it does not appear to be a novel written by a single author. It is not your typical novel. It does not present itself as written by someone who has created a tale of a great vampire terrorizing innocent people in Britain. It displays itself as a compromisation of many forms and different literature pieces, being diary entries, letters, telegrams, memoranda, and occasional newspaper clippings. To me, it's a collection of encounters and experiences with the great Count Dracula. In the text, Mina Harker and the assistance of Seward, Van Helsing, Jonathan Harker, Quincy Morris, and Arthur gathered all the respective pieces and combined them all into a document. Yet it still has traits that make it into a remarkable novel it is. It is fascinating researching in depth the compromisation of the collection. All of the accounts serve as a central purpose in the novel, providing credit to the story and making it believable. If it was narrated in the third person, it would come off much differently than it currently is. As I was going into deep analysis and research of Dracula Untold, I found 7 themes as well that play a crucial role in shaping the film, as well as the characters within it. These themes represent the complexities of power, temptation, sacrifice, and the blurry lines between Vlad Dracula's heroism and darkness. 2 themes upheld more importance in the narrative than the rest, being sacrifice and power and temptation. This became apparent to me as I was watching the film. Vlad's sacrifice for his family, which is central act of sacrifice in the movie, is a clear example. When Vlad makes a deal with the vampire master accepting the curse of vampirism, he did this to gain the power needed to protect his family and kingdom from the impending invasion by the Ottoman Empire. He has to fight the urge to enjoy his bloodlust and his newfound capabilities. He struggles with his inner demons and the sacrifice he must make to put his humanity on the line and defend those who matter to him. Both of these sacrifices intertwine and demonstrate Vlad's willingness to give up his humanity and endure the curse for the sake of those he loves, his family and his kingdom. Both Dracula and Dracula Untold hold varying themes. In Dracula, the main themes are based on the context of the Victorian era. These themes not only align themselves with the societal norms of the Victorian era, such as Mina, but also contradict them with characters such as Lucy and Dracula himself. Dracula Untold is a completely different side to the Dracula universe, as it is a prequel to the novel. It does not align its themes with Bram Stoker's Dracula, but created a world that contradicts not only Dracula's theme, but its contextual values. This can be reasoned as it was created over 150 years after Dracula. A lot has changed in those years, but most importantly in society and the acceptance of individuality. Both Dracula and Dracula Untold are very interesting and excel in their ways of portraying contextual values and their themes. During my research, I became more interested in not only the vampire trope, but the exploration of themes that underline both the novel and the film. Dracula is still prevalent today as it conveys a message. Things may not be what they seem. You can't judge a book by its cover. In a Victorian society that is set on changing someone's ways just by looking at them, there is nothing scarier than someone who defies stereotypes. You do not let your eyes nor your ears hear, and that which is outside your daily life is not of account to you. Do you think that there are things which you cannot understand and yet which are? That some people see things that others cannot?